Welcome back to the Action Bible, audio companion and narration by MC Brown. And as always, we're reading from the Action Bible, graphic novel, comic book adaptation of the Bible, which is just awesome. The beautiful illustrations by Sergio Carrillo and general editor Doug Mouse with text by David C. Cook. Copyright 2010. So, as always, we're not trying to spoil anything as we do in all the intros of the video, just giving a heads up in case there's always a first person watching a certain video. Not everybody is going to probably join right from the start. So just giving you a brief history. Started this on Christmas Day and just racing along into the new year as we are now. And just God put it on my heart to just start over from scratch from the beginning, as I've got a few hundred pages in and a little bit shorter the second time when I was fellowshipping with a friend. This I'm getting on my way to getting all 750 pages. It's going to take however many videos it's going to take. Maybe it's around the 75, give or take mark, I would guess, at the end when the playlist is all said and done. But there's timestamps in every description, so you can skip what I'm saying right now. Skip ahead in any of the next videos if you want to just keep reading along, listen along. I'm not really going to step on anybody's toes who created this great book and adaptation, a labor of love that they had. I don't want to interfere with the labor of love I'm doing here on this end. So there will be the pages flipped open so I can read them as we go along and record this, but it's not really for the purposes of really spoiling this. I mean, I want to show you kind of, but on the same token, just hoping this video, all these videos will inspire you to get your own. That's really the goal of this, because it's an awesome comic book adaptation of it. I'm a big comic book guy, and it's helped me, and this is helping me and educate me and teach me as I go along, and hopefully we'll do the same for you. And this is the best, I think, way for me to get heavily introduced to the lore and stories and lessons, especially as we get into Jesus' lessons and stuff in the New Testament. And anybody that has trouble with the prose versions, this is a great introduction, and then maybe hopefully it also inspires you to read your prose Bible, which is going to be in-depth expansion of every of these stories, because everything's truncated here, as you could see. As these chapters, they're well chaptered and shortened for the most part, depending on which story they're covering. And yeah, it's well worth it. Definitely worth the money, definitely worth your time, and it's a great introduction. So without further ado, I want to keep talking along. We are resuming this part 20 of the Action Bible Companion on page 242, Ruth's Redeemer, based on Ruth. Two women live in a foreign land, Naomi, a Jew, and her daughter-in-law, Ruth, a Moabite. All the men in the family have died, and they are left penniless and in need. Leave me, Ruth. I have nothing left. I am old. Your best hope is to find a husband who can take care of you. No, you are my mother. Where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. He will take care of us better than any husband. He didn't take care of my husband. My name means sweet, and for a while my life was sweet. But now that God has abandoned me, the name bitter would better describe me. Come, we will go back to Israel, where I have relatives who may help take care of us. Back in Israel, there is a law here that poor women can go to the fields and pick up any extra grain that the workers drop. I am too old to work in a field all day. Will you go, so that we may have food? Of course, Mother. Ruth goes to a field owned by Boaz, a distant relative of Naomi's. She works hard there, gathering the unused grain. One day the owner arrives. How are the best workers in all Israel doing? The Lord bless you and keep you. What a godly owner. And the Lord be with you. Boaz questions his foreman about progress on his fields. And are you taking care of the poor woman? Yes, and there is a new widow, Ruth from Moab. She has been laboring hard for weeks to support her mother-in-law, Naomi. Naomi is one of my relatives. I have heard how kind you are to your mother-in-law. Glean in my fields as much as you like, and may God reward and protect you." "He does. Thank you for your kindness." At lunchtime, Boaz is impressed with Ruth's faith and wit. When the meal is over and Ruth has gone back to work, drop some grain on purpose for her to pick up. Make sure no harm comes to her. "Don't worry, Boaz, she will be safe, and she'll find all the grain she needs." That evening, "Look at all the grain I got, Naomi. Your God is good to us. When my husband and sons died, I thought God had forgotten me. Now I know how much he loves me because he gave me a daughter-in-law who cares for me like a daughter. I met the owner of the field today. His name is Boaz, and he was very kind." "Boaz? He is a relative of my husband's family. God bless him for being kind to you." All through the harvest season, Ruth gleans in Boaz's field and takes care of Naomi. One evening, "Boaz has shown that he is kind to you. As a kinsman, he has the right to marry you. The harvest celebration is tonight. You should wear your nicest dress to the party, and then you should ask him if he, as your relative and redeemer, would want to marry and take care of you. Boaz is a godly man. I'll do what you tell me." Ruth does everything exactly as Naomi described, and Boaz notices. Ruth came. "Naomi told me to ask you, since you are a kinsman, would you be my redeemer? Would you marry me?" "Is there no one to take care of you?" "No." "Then I will." The news of Ruth and Boaz's coming marriage spreads rapidly throughout all Bethlehem. All the wedding there is feasting, music, and laughter. "Are you happy, my dear?" "Happier than I ever dreamed I could be. God has been good to me." After the wedding, Ruth and Naomi move into Boaz's big house. Later, when a son is born to Ruth, Naomi proudly cares for the child. "I thank God for the day you left Moab to come with me to Bethlehem. He has taken my bitter life and made it sweet again." "I thank God too, Naomi. He has made good come out of our sadness. He honored us with a man who honors him. And now I have a beautiful baby. My son is named Obed, which means servant, and my prayer is that Obed will serve God and his people." Ruth's prayer comes true, for her son will become the grandfather of David, Israel's greatest king, who will free his people from their enemies. Wake-up call, based on 1 Samuel 1-3. In the hundreds of years since the Israelites settled in the promised land of Canaan, they often turned from God to worship heathen idols. As a result, their priests have become corrupt, and they are dominated by their enemies, the Philistines. The priests no longer serve God's people with merciful hearts. At the Lord's house in Shiloh, Eli, the high priest, watches the faithful come to worship. He notices a woman, and suddenly he becomes angry. "Her lips are moving, but she's not saying anything. Another drunk who needs to lay off the wine." Angrily, he accuses her. "No, I'm not drunk. I'm unhappy, and in my sorrow I poured out my heart to God, asking him to help me." "I'm sorry for my hasty judgment. Go in peace, Hannah, and may God grant you what you've prayed for." "O Lord Almighty, if you have pity on my misery and give me a son, I will dedicate him to you for all his days." God does answer Hannah's prayer. When her little boy is old enough, she brings him to Eli. "When I asked God for a son, I promised that he would serve the Lord with all of his life. So I have brought him here to be trained in God's house. His name is Samuel." "God bless you, Hannah. I will teach your son to be a servant of the Lord." Samuel stays with Eli and eagerly learns how to serve God. Each year, when Hannah and her husband come to worship, she brings Samuel a new coat. "It's just like a priest's robe. Thank you, Mother." Old Eli is proud of Samuel. As Samuel works in the temple, he shows his devotion to God. unlike Eli's two sons, who sin against God and cheat the people, even though they're priests. One night, Samuel hears a voice. Samuel. Samuel rushes to find out what Eli wants, but Eli hadn't called him. He goes back to bed. Again, a voice calls out to him. Samuel. Samuel goes running to Eli's room again. Eventually, Eli realizes that God is speaking to Samuel. He instructs Samuel to answer to the Lord and listen to whatever message God has for him. The next morning, Eli asks Samuel what God has told him. Samuel doesn't want to repeat the message, but Eli insists. God says, Eli's sons are wicked, and Eli has not tried to stop them. They will be punished for the evil they have done. It is true. He is the Lord, and he will do what he knows is right. Word spreads that God had spoken to Samuel. As Samuel grows up, all of Israel knows that he is a true prophet of God. If only our priests were men of God like Samuel. How long must we suffer under their lying and cheating of Eli's sons? Mark my words, they will bring about their own destruction. Pass the Ark, based on 1 Samuel 4-6. The Philistines have continued to trouble the Israelites ever since the days of Samson. The Israelite soldiers go out to fight against the Philistines, but the battle does not go well. We've lost 4,000 men. What can we do? I have it. Moses and Joshua used to always bring the Ark of the Covenant with them into battle. If we bring the sacred Ark here, maybe it will win the battle for us. Yes, send for the Ark right away. Even though it is forbidden, Eli's two sons go into the Holy of Holies. There they take the sacred Ark from the Lord's house. When they bring it to camp, the Israelites shout with so much joy. That the Philistines in their camp can hear them. That way the Israelites are shouting, you'd think they had won the battle. Send someone to find what's going on. We're in trouble. They brought that ark of their God into their camp. You mean the same God who sent so many plagues on the Egyptians that they had to free the Israelites? How can we fight that kind of power? If we don't fight, we'll be slaves to the Israelites who have been our slaves. Now is the time to be men. Come, we must strike first before their God can strike us. The Philistines attack, but the Israelites, believing in the power of the ark, counterattack with sudden fury. Capture the ark and they'll give up. The Philistines capture the ark and the Israelites flee in terror. Their faith in God had become a superstitious belief in the ark. A messenger takes the news to Eli. The battle is lost. Your sons are dead, and the Philistines have captured the ark. The ark is captured? At the news, Eli falls and breaks his neck. Meanwhile, the Philistines triumphantly carry the ark home to the city of Ashdod and place it in the temple of their god, Dagon. Let this be a sign that our god Dagon has conquered the God of Israel. But in the morning, look, our great god Dagon lies broken before the ark of the Israelites. Not only is their idol destroyed, but a plague breaks out in Ashdod. So the Philistines carry the ark from one city to another. In each city a plague breaks out. Our fields are overrun with mice, I tell you. A curse has been put on our cities. Not a single family has escaped this mystery disease. The Philistines soon realized that their troubles began when they captured the Ark of Israel. Finally, they returned the Ark, and now Israel is worshiping idols. Some men take the Ark to a house in Kiriath Jearim, where it lies forgotten for many years. All right, so we're going to stop at 254 when we'll resume part 21. That will be on page 255. Again, thank you all for following along, listening, and appreciate you guys. Love you guys. And, any questions, mispronunciations, comments, anything on your heart, send them my way. And, yeah, if it's something I'm still continuing on, there's a lot of words that I'm gonna butcher here as I'm doing my best. If you notice anything, please let me know. I'll try to make the correction. There might be a little bit of time between these two videos, the next one, but as always, appreciate it. Yeah, if you think someone can use this or use the playlist and introduce them to God, then by all means, send them to the series, or get them the Action Bible if you can, or send them to them, and the link's in the description, and have them read along or listen along, depending on what works best. But as always, yeah, like, subscribe, share it if you can, if God moves your heart to do it. Appreciate you guys as always. Happy New Year again, and God bless you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.